Hey everyone, Dr. Louie, Dr. Namani here, back with the Athlete Spine and talking about more of a rare condition today. Justyn Ross, who was recently actually placed on injured reserve for a foot injury, actually has a tremendous story that brought him back to even training camp in his cervical spine.
Yeah, so he played for the Clemson Tigers, and even during his collegiate career, he had several issues with the cervical spine, and he had what's known as a burner and a stinger, which we've talked about before in previous videos. And basically, these are symptoms of burning pain down an arm or sometimes both arms. And in the process of the workup of that condition, he was found to have cervical spinal stenosis, which is narrowing of the space for his spinal cord and space for the nerves. What's interesting about his condition, however, was that this was found to be below a level that had fused itself, or was basically congenitally fused since birth. And this is a condition known as Klippel Feil syndrome.
Yeah, and from an athletic and sports standpoint, I don't think that there's a lot of reports out there. I mean, we see it time to time, but I mean, we live in a world where people come in with spine problems. But what this means is that, if you look at our spines, and there is a bone, which is a vertebral body, and then a disc, and then a vertebral body and a disc. And at one level in his cervical spine, it failed to segment. And so there's essentially two bones that are fused together, and potentially he may have less motion and flexibility because those discs really serve to provide us with range of motion in our necks. But I guess that's not the big concern here, more so than the injury that he suffered.
Yeah, and if you think about a lot of athletes have actually had surgical fusions of their cervical spine and been able to come back to play. And this is someone who was actually born with this. And so he lived his entire life for a very long time and played football through Pee Wee leagues and through junior high and high school, and basically had no problems until he developed an issue below his prior congenital fusion. And this is something that we see often in that in patients that we do surgical fusions on, they sometimes can develop issues above and below, because we think from the stress of one level not moving. And so in his case, he developed a stenosis below his congenital fuse level and ended up requiring an ACDF or a surgical fusion.
Yeah, and we don't have a great idea as to the timeline that these players can go back to play. And he certainly has gone back to a high level of play. And, I think from our standpoint in our field, we're still trying to figure this out. But he's not alone in this, right? We think of Peyton Manning, who may be one of the more famous NFL players to come back from a cervical fusion, but certainly not the only one. I mean, Jermichael Finley did it, and he was an all-pro tight end as well. And Chris Carson's been in the news here in Seattle with his recent retirement after, reportedly undergoing a cervical fusion as well. But from a two-level fusion standpoint, I think it gets a little bit trickier, and that's what we still have a lot to learn about.
Yeah, I think most spine surgeons will put a two-level fusion into, especially for football players, into a gray zone, So I think that there have been, like Dr. Louie said, there have been reports of people coming back from single-level cervical fusions because he had a congenital fusion of one level and then now a surgical fusion of another level. He effectively has a two-level fusion. And some spine surgeons would allow return to play, some wouldn't. I think a three-level fusion, often most people would say that's a contraindication to return to play. And so it remains to be seen. He's going to be out for this year because of the foot issue on injured reserve. But hopefully 2023 has good things in store for him, and he'll do a lot with the Chiefs.
Yeah, and he's certainly been able to come back and get to training camp playing ability. So we wish the best for his recovery. So thanks for joining us today. Don't forget to like and subscribe and follow us on Instagram at the Athlete Spine.
Take care,
Have a good
everyone.
one.
Bye.